Could she do it? That was the question. It was time to test her mettle, the moment of truth, for the new battleship, North Carolina. She had been nicknamed the Showboat by New Yorkers who watched her steam in and out of the harbor on shakedown cruises after her launching on June 13, 1940. But it was different now out here in the Pacific. Would she turn out to be a fighter, a jinx ship, or just a fancy lady? Now on August 24th, 1942, she was with the carrier Enterprise and a task force moving off the eastern Solomon Islands. She was the first ship to mount an anti-aircraft battery, and she needed it. Down they came.
Look out for that Zero! It's coming right at us!
Enemy dive bombers and torpedo planes swarmed in. The Showboat spoke back with everything it had, and that was a lot. Suddenly, in the thick of battle,
the Enterprise is hit!
Keep firing! Drive them off!
The North Carolina's gunners blanketed the sky with exploding steel.
Captain, radio message. The Enterprise wants to know if we're on fire.
On fire? Tell them no. It's just our guns smoking. Guess they never saw this much firepower before.
No one had, particularly the Japanese. They broke off the fight. The Enterprise made it in for repair. The North Carolina had gone through her first ordeal and came through like a champion. The newest American battleship, she carried a crew of 1,500 proud and trained men. Their watchword had been load and fire, and they had proved their skill at it during this battle of the Eastern Solomons. When the score was tallied, her 16-inch guns had spoken furiously. Her anti-aircraft guns, too, had earned their keep, with 7 enemy planes destroyed and many more probables. On she cruised through the embattled Pacific. Then on September 15, 1942...
Off port bow!
But the enemy had been quick. A torpedo tore into the Showboat's hull, ripping a gash in her side.
Damage control to bridge. We're sealing off the flooded compartments.
Can we still maneuver?
Aye, aye, sir.
Then let's get out of here. Give it full speed ahead.
The ship chased off the sub and worked her way out of the danger zone, back to Pearl Harbor for repairs. Then on December 7th, 1942, she was ready for action again. The Showboat's fighting edge grew sharper, for now she had new and better fire control, gunnery, and radar gear. With a fast carrier task force, she covered troop movements throughout the Pacific. As Marines and GIs fought their way onto enemy islands, the North Carolina was in the thick of it, protecting the mighty carriers, pounding beaches, and even sending her scouting seaplanes into the action. Swooping into Truck Harbor, the Showboat's 2 seaplanes rescued crashed flyers right under the enemy's nose. On she fought, hitting Leyte, Luzon, Formosa, and the China coast. At the assault on Iwo Jima, she hurled every last round of ammunition on the enemy in 4 days. One of the greatest naval bombardments in history. By June 13, 1944, she had steamed with carriers to Saipan, while minesweepers and underwater demolition teams worked close in to shore. The North Carolina bombarded the island's heavy fortifications. For nearly 7 hours, the battleship pumped 16-inch and 5-inch shells on the fortress. Engine trouble developed, so on July 6th, she was forced to sail for home and repairs. But the Showboat didn't stay idle for long. On October 14th, fit and ready again, she set sail once more for the war zone. The Showboat had been present at every major campaign since Guadalcanal. She had seen the country's naval force grow from the struggling remnants of the Pearl Harbor attack to the greatest navy in the world. Convoys, men of war, aircraft, shore batteries. The Showboat took on the enemy's best and beat them at their own game. But the worst foe of all was weather. That was one enemy you couldn't stop cold. It had to run itself out, and you had to take it. Typhoons hit the ship with all the fury of nature unleashed. To this battle also, the North Carolina stood up with determination. Time after time, she came through the fiercest of storms. At the end of August 1945, she was off Japan itself, pounding shore installations. Lieutenant Jacobs and Lieutenant Oliver were in the Showboat seaplanes searching for downed pilots. Oliver spotted an airman right in Tokyo Bay and landed to rescue him. The water was rough as Oliver unstrapped his belt and leaned over to help the swimming pilot. A sudden wave hit, and over he went. Without a pilot, the seaplane raced away, taxiing in wild circles around the bay. Then it turned toward the men in the water. Up above, Lieutenant Jacobs saw the trouble and dove on the runaway plane. He machine-gunned the plane, stopping it just before it should run down the struggling men in the water. Then, Zero started down out of the sky. Despite this threat, Lieutenant Jacobs landed, rescued both soaked men, and hightailed it back to the North Carolina. The tales of the Showboat are many to tell. She earned a dozen battle stars, performed countless deeds of valor, and helped her country strike back from that infamous day at Pearl Harbor. When the war ended, so did the North Carolina's purpose for being. Her fighting days were done. She was stowed with the mothball fleet at Bayonne, New Jersey. Then, in 1960...
Did you hear? They're going to scrap the North Carolina, make her into junk.
Can't something be done?
Something was done. The people of North Carolina heard of the Showboat's intended fate and rallied to save her. School children gave their nickels and dimes. Businessmen gave $100 bills. $250,000 was raised by the Tar Heel State citizens to save their ship from the scrap heap. Today she rests in all her majesty at the port of Wilmington. The Showboat is a place to visit and recall her glorious past. She is an enduring memorial to the brave men who fought for freedom and to the people of North Carolina who would not let her die.